My name is Wisaal Abrahams. I am a visual artist, a creative producer. I have a curriculum called the School of Pressure, of which I'm the author. And I'm also a community development coach. And I identify as being South African. I think when I contemplate my identity, often, for me, I think about how to create a reality in which everyone is free and balanced and where there's harmony. So these are things I contemplate because of my identity every day, because I'm confronted with people and with the world who sometimes negotiate with me on various levels. So I've had to, from a very young age, understand and articulate what my sense of balance feels like, you know. And so the frequency of freedom for me is about finding the right melody or the right tune that can unite, but that can also grieve, but that can also reconcile. And that particular frequency or sound, my research is in sound and space because I'm into alternative realities. Those are the building blocks of creating reality. You can't start anything without the sound, you know. Even biblically, you know, we hear about it, you know, say it and it will be, or you know, these kinds of invocations that old people of old have been using for centuries. So sound is really the beginning, the building blocks of building realities. And so I thought that if I was going to try and meander down this path of decolonial building, I needed to understand which frequencies we needed to bring into those realities or those world-building exercises as we transition from this nation-building philosophies of our leaders that are passing to this more world-building, three-dimensional thinking, and sound is where we have to begin. My creative process always starts off with a certain madness. So when I say madness, I mean visions, dreaming, writing, journaling, obsession, lots of reading, which is very unpopular for my age group. I'm 34 years old. So it's isolating yourself or being in solitude for a long period of time to make sense of what you are being called to do. And that goes through many different layers. I think the intellectual layer is the last layer. The first layer is trying to understand your internal process. And through that, you need to be alone. You can't actually be around your tribe, which makes sense when I contemplate my life now. But you need to go inward. You need to have the space to go inward. And then once you've made sense of that, the last place you end up is in your mind. And then through your mind, you are able to then articulate this process of awakening or uncovering of new information that is actually inside of you, but that's dormant for whatever reason. The project and my expectations were met. I think that when, as a conceptual artist, as someone who, my art is ideas, right? I ideate as a way of painting or as a way of singing, I ideate. And when you're in that process, you might have the colors that you need, or you might have all the tools that you need, but as you are building your practice and as you're practicing your art, you actually have no idea what the end piece is going to look like. So it's also been beyond my expectations. It's gone beyond my expectations. Some things have not met my expectations, but then that balance is there through other facets of the project. I'm a perfectionist by nature, so there's no ceiling, really. And I think it's important for projects like this that we build in these measurement models, because otherwise we could look at it quite critically and say, have we done enough? But I think it's also important to stand back and say, when you're making history, there's no judge. So we, alhamdulillah, can say that I'm very proud, and that where I'm sitting here, there's room for improvement, but also room for celebration. In an ideal world, for my generation, and and the generations to come require a certain amount of patience, but also tenacity. So our forefathers and foremothers were fighting for freedom. Some of them lost their lives. And we have this perfect constitution now that's a global icon, really, for how to deal with matters of injustice in the world. In South Africa, we are famous for this in the world. And so this immense pressure sits on my generation, the born frees, because we were given the freedom, but the access to activating that freedom is still sitting in the past. And on top of that, now we are not needed as fighters anymore. And so there's nowhere for that anger to go. But we are needed as builders. And so there's a skill requirement needed as well. And so if our education system is not able to bridge that gap so that our fighters can become builders and thinkers, and the access or the resource modeling doesn't shift from the past to the present, then we are going to be the generation with, unforgivable trauma. But we are still young and capable. And so this process of decolonization is asking ourselves, do we have the tools? Are there tools we still need? Do we have the relationships? Are there relationships we still need to build? Are we open to conflict? Do we have tools to manage it? And also this idea of repatriation and reconciliation. Are our hearts big enough? Is our compassion broad enough to even be able to teach what we need? Because that's what's required now. Some people will say, it's not my labor to do. That's not my job. Whose job is it?